That was the hardest one to answer for me.
Hey, good afternoon. It's great to have you both here. Vijay Sabre from Suncorp. Can you just introduce yourselves, the role you do, and then we can start to get a little bit more about Suncorp and how you're working with Salesforce. So why don't I pass to you, Sabre, first?
Sure. I look after engineering and insurance tech in New Zealand. Basically, we are trying to deliver to our technology strategy, but ultimately to solve business problems and make sure that we align to produce the best customer outcomes.
And Vijay?
I'm head of architecture for Suncorp New Zealand and part of the wider enterprise architecture team in the Suncorp group. And I also drive the strategy from a technology perspective for the Suncorp New Zealand along with my leader.
So Sabre, can I start with you? I'd like to get you to sort of paint me a bit of a picture of your business.
Absolutely. So first of all, Suncorp New Zealand is a highly intermediated business where the critical part of operation is our relationship with our brokers and corporate partners, and that's our central focus of an engagement to ultimately the customer. From our perspective, our mantra and sort of where we drive is to deliver expertise simply, and we'd really want to focus on each of these services and offerings and our relationship with the corporate partners and the brokers to ultimately provide a better customer experience.
You are the lead enterprise architect for Suncorp New Zealand. You're also part of that team that's looking at AI across Suncorp Group and Suncorp New Zealand. Can you talk us through a little bit about what this actually means in practice for the sort of decisions you're making for Suncorp New Zealand?
The key thing to observe is AI is not a bolt-on. It's part of the wider enterprise architecture practice. And when you think about AI, if you look at it from a holistic perspective, it will touch people, process, and various technology solutions, which will provide a good outcome.
So can you talk us through then the journey that Suncorp has been on since it introduced the Salesforce platform?
So when we started a couple of years back, primarily with Salesforce, we focused on getting the servicing side of things running for our business, which is primarily driven through Service Cloud and Financial Services Cloud. Very quickly we realized the data is all not in Salesforce, the data is elsewhere, so we need to get the data in. So we started to look at Data Cloud, or now called Data 360, which is fundamentally changing how we actually look at creating our 360 views, making sure we understand our customers and the brokers and provide the grounded data that the agent really needs. We are trying to bring this all together, create a single data view, create how the agents can orchestrate with each other, and the presentation layer is the final element of it, which is right now we are bringing it to the platform where our users are, so they don't have to, again, navigate into other systems.
Suncorp operates across multiple brands, corporate entities, you've got thousands of broker partners, you've got customers that interact with multiple different products. I'm really keen to see, before Salesforce, what did this complexity around customers mean for your day-to-day operations?
It was manual, it took long, not all the information was there, and if you had to find that information, you need to pull it from various sources. What Salesforce brought along is it centralized and simplified all these complexities into a single pane glass, and that allowed our frontline staff to have a much more proactive conversation with our customers and our brokers and corporate partners alike, and it started to allow us to think about how we can simplify our processes even further. So the experience, and we talk about this all the time, when we went live the first day, we walked up in the building on level 15, and the faces on the people that were operating on the CRM, I've never seen them smiling, and I thought that was what digital transformation is all about, in my opinion. So what the platform allowed us to do, and we're still early on in the journey, is to actually deliver expertise simply, starting with the brokers, the corporate partners, and ultimately the customers.
Now that you've got that CRM in place, talk about what's actually changed for the brokers, who are ultimately your path to the customer.
It enables us to actually be easier to work with. And what that translates to is two things. One, we will become the first choice for our brokers and corporate partners alike, but ultimately it's a better outcome for the end customer as well. And all that translates to is healthier, better relationship with our brokers and corporate partners, and ultimately a much better experience for our customers at the end of the day.
So if you think about in your architecture and technology strategy, what are the immediate opportunities you see for the role of Agentic AI?
We are looking at three key themes that we are primarily around the space of one, if you look at the key internal actions like risk, QA, where a human would have actually gone through a set of instructions and seen, have I done this, have I done this as an organization, have we met those elements of it. So those components, we are looking how we could possibly automate using the agentic capabilities. That's one element of it. The second theme of it is primarily we are reviewing the ability of unstructured data to structured data. In an intermediated market, as Sabri alluded to it, the brokers send us a number of different formats. So we get data over phone calls, we get data through emails, we get data through structured forms, where you upload documents into that structured forms. So the data is highly unstructured here, and that takes significant amount of effort for our internal BDMs, distribution managers, our servicing staff members. How do we automate that? How do we make that information easily accessible for our staff members so they can serve the brokers better? The third element of it that we are looking at is a more futuristic element around, does the brokers really want to be engaging to us through forms, or should it be more conversational? How does the information flow when you have a customer, you have a broker, you have a staff member? The information can start in any channel, whether that's a digital phone or anything, but can end in a different form. So we have a very complex ecosystem we are trying to solve here. So we are trying to find what's the best way to fit the conversational element in these channels, and also make sure we can seamlessly transition between these channels here.
So when you're looking towards architecting Agentforce for these more sort of complex interactions, how would Agentforce change the way brokers, corporate partners interact with you when they're sort of deciding to do business? So what's the kind of change you're expecting to see for them?
I met with a few brokers earlier this year, and one of the common conversation that being asked is, do I need to sign in? Because I just don't want to sign into another system. I'm going to have my system and I want to have a conversational engagement with you. I wouldn't want to deal with, am I engaging with an agent as in a real agent, or am I engaging with an Agentforce agent? They do not know that information behind the scenes, but that's what they are looking for right now. The sessions this week in the Dreamforce event has highlighted the point around the user interface. Yes, has a role to play, but I think the voice is going to take over as well. So I would say, if I were to bet on these things, I would say the voice and the conversational element of information flow is going to be the future.
The voice demos are pretty good. It's pretty exciting what we're seeing with customers using Agentforce voice. So you think about introducing artificial intelligence into financial services. It's a highly regulated industry that Suncorp operates within. As you start to bring AI into the process, how do you build the confidence with your teams that AI can handle this customer interaction, sensitive information? How have you gone about thinking about that, Vijay?
Do not treat AI as a bolt-on.
Yeah.
Go back to the wider enterprise architecture principles, into the wider Suncorp governance. For example, any organization will have that governance set up. So start with that. That will take care of your risk, privacy, compliance activities. So those processes need to be followed. The second key element is that we would recommend strongly is around the point of having AI knowledge people, SMEs in the business as well as in technology, who can actually understand the type of LLMs we are using, who can understand what is actually happening with the data points. And from a technology element perspective, we need to be on board of platforms that can provide that auditability. So if someone comes in and says, okay, show me how does this actually work, we should be able to go in into the deep dive of the platform, open it up and show, okay, these are the different steps it has actually gone through before it did a deflection to the human in the loop. And once you have the confidence, the business person can then decide at what point they can let it go to be more automated process there.
You've spoken, and obviously our teams work together around this principle that the business drives the use cases rather than technology. Can you explain how this works in practice for Suncorp?
I think 3 words, and I'll explain them, but tiny fusion teams. And what that does is it really blurs the lines between the business and the technology and the decision making there, because ultimately teams are coming together, collaborating, identifying a problem and working towards solving them. And through proper discovery, good input from both the business and the technology, and working towards a common solution that's going to work for everybody. Because ultimately what we do in technology is solve business problems and ultimately think about the customer and keep that customer in mind. So I think that blurring of the lines takes an effort. It requires the right chemistry in terms of setup of the teams, but ultimately if you get that right, you've got a fantastic formula to build up on. So that's kind of my summary of what is needed to blur those lines between the business and technology.
Fantastic. Hey, look, Sabre, thank you for that. VJ, once again, great to be up here talking to you and sharing your experiences.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That was the hardest one to answer for me.